Now to the State House, where another key vote on a controversial bill happened today.
Members of the House vote on whether to ban transgender athletes from competing in girls' sports. News Center Maine's Donovan Lynch is in Augusta tonight with more. Hi, Donovan.
Hi, Brian and Sam. Yeah, a bill that would ban trans athletes from competing in women's sports and entering spaces that are designated women's only. That bill is still very much alive after Democrats failed to gather enough votes to defeat it in the Maine House of Representatives this afternoon. Now, the Republican-sponsored effort, if passed, would align the state with the White House's interpretation of Title IX. That's that landmark 1972 anti-sex discrimination law, and the same law that the Trump administration accuses Maine of violating in its current policy of allowing trans athletes to compete in women's sports. Of course, the state of Maine, through the Attorney General's office, disputes this and says that Maine is in fact following Title IX. But the remarkable thing is this vote was tied 72 to 72. Republicans were united in backing this measure, again, to bar trans athletes from competing in girls' sports. On the Democratic side, it was a much different story. 3 Democrats and 1 independent were not on the floor for the vote, did not cast a vote. 1 Democrat did cast a vote with Republicans. Here's what some of Danny O'Halloran had to say earlier today on this topic. Take a listen.
Trans athletes and all girls sports teams gives trans athletes an advantage that they would not otherwise have. And to me, this is not fair.
And I did have a chance to speak with some of the Democrats who were not on the floor for the vote. One of them, Representative Adam Lee, said he is recused from voting on bills of this topic for legal reasons. Another representative, a Democrat, told me it was very much on purpose that he was not on the floor for this vote. Interestingly, this comes just a day after the Senate shot down a similar bill to bar trans athletes from competing in women's sports. In that instance, it was a Republican who actually crossed over and voted with Democrats. Senator Rick Bennett voted with Democrats on that measure. And again, these 2 bills are some of the many pieces of legislation on this topic, a topic that's really been a touchstone of this legislative session and has made national headlines as this legal battle plays out between the Trump administration and Maine. I'll send it back to you, Brian and Sam.
Donovan Lynch, live for us in Augusta tonight. Thank you.